Is it loud?
I guess it's fine. Not
All
really
right,
loud.
we're live now. So, hi everyone. My name is Alex. So, all right, hi everyone. My name is
What happened?
second podcast. There was some interesting issue there. So, anyways, let's move on. My name is Alex Shai. I'm currently a final year student taking IT in UTP, and I'm the DSC lead. So, joining us today on our second episode, we have Ashraf, we have Perlin, and then we have Wenlin. So, let them introduce themselves. Hi, Ashraf.
Hello, hi guys. My name is Ashraf. Most people call me Achab. Same class as Alex, final year student UTP, and also the vice lead for the ESC.
Mm-hmm. Perlin.
Excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Perlin and I'm a third year law student at the London School of Economics in the UK. And thanks Alex and Ashraf for having us today.
Wenlin.
Hey, I'm Lynn, a co-founder of DAC, and I'm also currently a final year student at the London School of Economics. I would be graduating in June. Thanks for having us here, Alex. Ashraf.
No problem. We are happy to have you. So today, we're going to talk about something that's quite popular nowadays. We're going to talk about data science. So
Uh,
yeah, but actually, data science has been around for quite a very long time. Actually, almost everyone has been using data in everywhere. We are using it in sports. We're using it in economics, finances. We're using it in normal, everyday companies, everyday life. Yeah. So, but suddenly, it's like all of a sudden such a big hit right now. So here we are going to discuss about why is it like this. So like Pearly, why do you think like nowadays that suddenly data science is such a big thing? Like why is it important and what it actually is? Can you kind of like share your views on this?
Yeah, for sure. So I think to understand like what data science is and how important data science is, I think it's important to just like think about what businesses do and what businesses require to sort of like operate and well thrive or survive. I think basically businesses throughout the course of its like business life cycle, they have to make a lot of decisions. Um, and how do they make these decisions, right? Is based on um, insights or facts or evidence. And I think why data science is becoming so important today is because increasingly, there's a lot of digitization across business functions, and therefore it becomes easier and easier for businesses to just pick and look into data and look into what the insights there are to make business decisions. And these business decisions are sometimes, really important or sometimes quite sort of like business operational, like more usual ones. But I think in general, it is the fact that like digitization plus the fact that businesses increasingly need to make more and more decisions, becoming more competitive, that makes data science more important today. And adding on to the fact that COVID is here today, more digitization, more data science. So yeah, even more important.
Mm. So Lynn, what do you think? Do you have anything to add?
I think data science is just a fancy phrase for honestly using information. It's like just a multidisciplinary way of approaching or systematically collecting information, then just using it to better understand the context, business, or any problem at hand. I think like with the degree of global integration in our businesses, our institutions, and like even social media between people, problems can no longer and really should no longer be solved from a single perspective. And maybe that the reason why data science, this name has blown up is because of the whole tech explosion, I guess, as Perlin mentioned. But really, what data science is just using this data and trying to understand better our world and understand or solve our problems a bit better.
I see. So the thing about data science is that it's constantly being talked about, but not really a lot of people know what it is. I mean, me and Ashraf were a data analytics major, but like I don't know about Ashraf lah. But for me, it's like I'm still not quite sure like what data science is really about, right? Ashraf, what about you?
It's I look been learning it for 6 weeks so far, and it's just some weird sorcery to me. But
Yeah,
it's crazy what if you really go into, I don't know, it's like I don't know what was your first like impression of what you can do with data science, but my first impression was like quite amazed actually. I wasn't really into like technology stuff. It's just recently where I really got into it. Just quite funny because I've been learning it for a few years now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like data science is like super deep, right? There's like such a big field. It's like it itself is like a separate whole field, right? There's like so many data science roles. Like there's like data analysts where you just analyze data. You have data engineers. You have data scientists. You have machine learning specialists and all that kind of stuff, lah. But then like for us as students, maybe we're just like still just starting to get into it. So maybe there's still a lot of things that we still don't really know about data science, lah. So like I want to like kind of ask about you, Perlin and Lin, lah. Since you guys are both law majors, right? Like what kind of got you guys into data science actually? Like
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'll go first. I think what got me into data science, right? I think well, even though I am doing law, law very much has to do with businesses. You basically like think about what business decisions there are from like the company's perspective, and how law can help to make those decisions, right? And I think how I thought data was interesting is because from a business perspective, there are a lot of times where when businesses have to make business decisions, basically like what I mentioned earlier, it's very important for them to understand what data means. And although I'm a law student, I think it's also very important for me to learn about the importance of data, so as to just better position myself from the business's perspective, and be able to value add better.
Fun fact, Perlin just wrote a thesis on big data in
Yes.
criminal court justice systems. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I don't study law. I actually study politics and economics. And my interest in data science comes from, I guess, what I'm interested in economics and politics. Economics and politics today, it sounds like an art subject, which we write a lot of essays. And to be fair, we do write some essays, but it's actually a very data-driven subject. Like economics, we always deal with data. So this year, I do this module called Development Economics. And what we essentially do is we evaluate policies for different parts of development, like poverty alleviation, I don't know, disaster relief, microfinance loans, or not microfinance, but other types of like financial loans. And data is important in like evaluating these policies, right? Because we need to know whether or not these policies work, whether or not it makes sense for us to spend so much money in certain policies, certain programs. And the only way that we can know whether it works or not on a large scale is to collect data and to systemically analyze that data. So data science is actually very integrated in my course. We use various programs, softwares, and codes in order to interpret empirical data that we collect from the world, whether it's like GDP data or education data, even like voting data in politics, and to understand whether or not certain strategies or policies work. So it's very different from Perlin. It's not so much businesses, but it's more the macro governmental side. So data science does have a lot of use, not just for businesses, but also like, I guess, for government and like policymakers.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about data science is that it's not, even though it's mainly technology wise, but it's mainly, to me, it's mainly math and statistics. And I'm really bad at math and statistics, right? So, I mean, for me, from what I know, data science, the field of data science has a lot of niche, right? You have data analysts, you have data analytics, you have business analytics, you have data engineering, and then you have like statistics, machine learning, like deep learning, and all this kind of stuff, lah. Right? I mean, like, Ashraf, what's your niche, Ashraf? Like, what are you the most interested in?
What in data science? Well,
Yeah.
at the moment I'm into like machine learning and stuff, but I'm still learning a lot about it. But actually, I wanted to ask. I think Alex, you said something which is interesting. You said like I relate to your opinion of data science about statistics and stuff. I think because we come from a background that studies data science as a subject, as more of a science in itself, whereas Wenlin and Perlin, you guys are kind of the users of it. You guys get to see the application of it, and I'm wondering in your respective fields, like how common is data science used? Like, is it a common practice, or is it currently in its revolutionary stage? Are people slowly changing, or are they already using it as commonly as it was before? So how is it used right now? Is it like common?
I guess speaking from the economics field, they really like the whole field of economics has moved into using data and using data analytics in the past decade, and it almost moved completely from being an art and like a subjective subject or subjective study into like a fully empirical based like data driven subject. And right now it's kind of moving back towards, so it's like kind of trying to get that good middle ground between the two. And this really boils down to the whole field of econometrics, which is essentially statistics but for economics. And what econometrics study is really just like how we can use data and how we can use machine learning to understand fluctuations or variations in data in order to find causal inferences. So to see whether or not like intervention or like aspect A actually causes B and they're not just correlated. Like fun fact, like eating ice cream and drowning is correlated. Like clearly eating ice cream doesn't cause you to drown, right?
I knew
So
it.
like try to like identify that or does it? Not ice cream can you drown. But yeah, so essentially it's a study of how we can look at correlations and establish causation and like ensure that we establish the correct causation rather than like just finding random correlations that don't like variable A doesn't actually cause variable B. So I think the field of economics is very, very well versed in using data and using data science and data analytics. And right now it's trying to incorporate back theory because at the end of the day, data analytics is very powerful, but in itself, it's not very meaningful if it's not backed by theory. I think that's where the economics field is trying to go back to like using theory and using like that whole, I guess, more qualitative analysis into their data analytics. For the field of politics, I think using data is actually a very recent thing. So within the past decade, it's definitely been exploding. It's definitely been like more data is being collected, especially with digital campaigning and campaigns on social media. You get so much more easy to collect data. So studies in it and the use of it is definitely been increasing. And nowadays, you can look at the US elections in itself, right? Like they have so many data analytics. They try to predict different outcomes, predict different scenarios, try to predict who will be the president next. And all this is using data science. In the past, the data science for this is not as technical and not as comprehensive, but today it's getting more and more comprehensive, and people are relying on data more and more and relying on code more and more. I think it's being reflected in our education syllabus as well. Like almost all of my courses now like has a bit of code in it. I don't know, how is it for you, Perlin, in law?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned earlier about like how data drives decisions in policy, I think that is a huge part of how data is being used in law. So I think for law, like I think when you talk about law, then most people associate it with like police, like trying to arrest like bad people out there. So I think from there, so that's the first part of how data is being used. Where, for example, when someone is arrested, then those kind of data get entered into the system where they say, okay, this person is no stereotyping here, but just for as an example, this person is a male and he certain characteristics and what he did. So that from there you get like a lot of data, And from there, you can, as Ashraf has mentioned, something you're interested in, machine learning, you try to model how certain characteristics correlate with crime. So that's the first part of how like data is being used. Well, I think also something that is increasingly being brought up is that in terms of policing, when we're looking at policing, for example, then to detect like certain discrimination, so people look at data. So is there a higher proportion of people with certain characteristics that are being arrested? I think that is part of how data come into use. But again, in terms of machine learning and all of these things, I think as Berlin has mentioned, theory is very important because if data detached from theory, then we might make very like discriminatory or wrong decisions in terms of like trying to model who is going to be a more highly suspected criminal and things like that. So yeah, definitely it's quite new, but it's increasing, I would say, exponentially.
Well, I mean, for me, it's that I know more about the business side because I'm constantly being involved in a lot of business side stuff. Even though myself is not a business student, right? My father is involved in a lot of like the corporate world, and then he always like brings me into it and then just teaches me stuff, right? And I get to see a lot during my intern, right? I'm actually doing, the fancy name is electronic data processing. But basically what I did was just basically I took data and then made it into a dashboard. But then it looks cool, it sounds cool, right? So I mean, actually, like for if you go through the flow of a company, right? I mean, all the whole company is resolved around the data, right? It's just like the whole company depends on the data to know the flow, either the performance or maybe you're buying and selling, maybe you're doing retail. All those codes, every single order is like where the order is from, the location, how much does it cost to order, and all that kind of stuff, right? It all very depends on like data, right? And I feel like data is actually like the main core flow of the company. Like if the company has good control of the data, right, and then they can basically extract a lot of information and make the right decisions, lah. So I mean, like I don't know about you guys, but then from what I learned in theory, in class, it's basically like data is just for you to make like informative decisions, make the right decisions, right? Yeah, remember, right?
That is the most textbook.
I know, right?
Ever.
But it's kind of true, lah. I feel like because like if you need to know. Okay, say you're selling something, right? I think Perlin or no, I think Lin was the one that told me about this example, where this one company that's like selling spare parts and then their business is going bad, right? And then like they want to decide which spare part is the one that they need to cut, right? So they find out which spare part is the one that makes the less money, right? So that they do it, right? A lot of other companies are doing like this also, like Baskin Robbins. Like Baskin Robbins, they only have like 30 fixed flavors, and then the one flavor is like extra flavor that they will change every month. So every month there's like a special flavor, right? And then the top selling 30 flavor will become the original 30, and then there will be one flavor that's constantly cycling, right? So Baskin Robbins is basically using the data to like check which one is the most selling, right? Which one makes them the most money? Which one is the most profitable? And then they're keeping the 30 flavors and then taking away the one that's like the least profitable, right? So I mean, like almost every company is using data now, and companies who are not using data are going to slowly fall behind, I believe. So what about you, Ashraf? What's your experience?
Yeah. I always thought to myself when we bring up the subject of data science, we talk about machine learning and all these different algorithms. I always think to myself, how will this help like the normal person, the people who just started in business and stuff? They just had their own startup, and obviously there are some like indirect connections. But I was thinking like directly, what could you do with that? So I just went ahead and just like did my own thing during COVID. I just went ahead and sold a bunch of homemade juice at a stand near my house. right?
Lemon
And I just, yeah, I know. And then I was thinking, I just like I would
Can I
have so
still
much
buy it?
time. I wish, COVID, PKP, but yeah, no, I was selling it, and then I was thinking, let's really do it. Let's do it properly, like as what I learned in the classroom and stuff. And I had to physically track everything, the sales and stuff, and it was actually really helpful, especially when there was an app for it. I tracked the sellings, the profit, who bought it, and then now I know on Saturdays, if there is a Chinese middle-aged man walking by, I know for sure he's gonna buy it. I'm and on Mondays, I'm very confident if there is an old Malay guy who always walks around my place, I'm sure he's gonna come and buy some. So that was kind of like the application of basic data science to people who just want, maybe like people who are struggling, just want to don't have much capital to start a big business, or they just sell the side of the road. Actually, it helps a lot, and I think we're starting to see more of that, especially when you hear like technologies like I know this is going a bit off topic, but robotics are helping the people at the side of the road. You've seen the videos of the kid who programmed that thing to make like it shoots out some sort of paste into to fry it, some kind of mechanical arm or something. And it was really cool. And I think another technology that can be applied to these smaller, very small businesses is data science. Yeah, but obviously, like when we talk about big corporations, you can really see it's more visible than smaller ones. Being in I was interning at Petronas last year, and I was a part of the project, and the whole project was all about data science, descriptive analytics and stuff, and it was really, really powerful and confusing at the same time. But I think that's part and parcel of data science, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of companies are getting into data science now, even during intern, right? I mean, I don't know, except for a select few. I mean, almost the whole class, most of the class, I would say, 80% of the class are doing Power BI in their internship. It's like the next big thing now. Everyone is literally doing Power BI dashboards. So like, I guess like almost everyone is starting to get into data science because they know it's the next thing, right? So I mean, data science is such a big field that you kind of have to start early if you want a head start, right? So I think that's what DACN does, right? So like, can you guys kind of explain to us a bit like what your data analytics network consultancy network actually does? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. So DACN is Data Analytics Consultancy Network, and we are essentially a student pro bono initiative aiming to help small local businesses take a meaningful step forward in digitization, in particular data utilization. So our vision is for a more data-ready and tech-savvy business environment in Malaysia, not just for the up-and-coming startups, but more importantly for the long-standing SMEs who are really the backbone of our economy and our lives as we know it. So for the bakery 2 streets away, our favorite snack shop, our trusted plumber, even the hawker store, our favorite hawker stores, favorite uncles and aunties. And we have many local SMEs who have been around for a long time, but are now starting to fall behind because of data digitization. And as Alex said, right, if businesses do not adopt data analytics or do not start using data, they do start to fall behind. But at the same time, right, digital consultancy is very expensive and usually extremely technical. And so what we hope to do is to bridge this gap by providing very, very basic data analytics consulting to SMEs who may want these services with 2 main aims. First, to show SMEs why embracing data is so essential and so beneficial. And second, to help those SMEs take a step in the direction of improving their data readiness and data utilization. So that's what we do in a nutshell. And like Alex just now mentioned the example of like the spare parts business. So the inspiration for DACN it was quite random. I was actually recently helping out with one of my neighbors' automotive spare parts business, and they are a very small shop that has been around for a while, and they only have one small outlet. And I was just helping them with some very basic data entry stuff when I overheard that they really wanted to know which products to cut and which supplies to cut because COVID hit them and they can no longer like they wanted to cut costs in order to like help with the reduced demand. And so they had a lot of data. They're like one of those, I would consider them like as gems for like, I guess what we were trying to do, because they have a point of sale system which collects all of the data for that. Like they have a database, they have stored data. It's very messy given it's not clean data, but they do have data. They just didn't know how to use it. And they were like asking each other like, oh, is it this product that's at least selling or not? And they were just like asking each other from experience rather than being like data focused or data driven. And when I overheard that, I just said, okay, take a look at the data. And what I did was I just ran a few very basic Excel VBA codes in order to clean the data, and then consolidate it to like create simple charts. I think as students, we take graphs and like charts for granted, like especially like trends on like sales or costs. We take them for granted. But for small SMEs, sometimes they do not have the know-how or like the skills in order to create it, because even though we grew up with like Microsoft Excel, many people didn't. Microsoft is actually quite a new thing, especially for like older businesses. And so even helping them create that graph chart to show like which products are best selling, which are not, which were in the past well selling but now are no longer well selling. These insights really help them. And I thought it would be nice if more SMEs could have this service. And so I went to Perlin and I spoke to Perlin about it. And we found that student pro bonos are usually the easiest because students are free and eager to learn. And these SMEs often do not have the money or the know-how in order to, I guess, digitize. And professional firms which offer these services are too costly or too advanced, right? They don't really help that small first step. It's more of like, how do you scale? How do you build huge databases? How do you like start using automated machine learning using AI? And like what we're doing is really helping those SMEs take a step one, and hopefully then maybe they can go on to asking for like those professional services.
I see. So Perlin, like you just randomly got dragged into this.
Yes, she did.
But I thought that this is something that actually has been done. So, for example, in the UK, but that is solely consulting. So it's called Cambridge Consultancy Network. So they're kind of like a consultancy organization where they also let students sit on consulting projects and do projects for clients basically. And I've been part of that, and I thought that was a really great experience. It basically gives you, as a student who has no like experience in consulting, some insight into what consulting really is. So I thought that when Lynn's idea combined with CCN's idea of having a student consultancy network, it would really help. Well, from a student's perspective, right? It will really help in terms of like helping students to gain a lot of the technical and soft skills that perhaps their career in data science would require. So I thought that it was something that I would be passionate about as well.
So from what I heard is that you guys are targeting students, right? Basically, you guys are recruiting students to be part of your team. Like, why students? Why not professionals who have more experience?
Well, I think one of the main reasons is that, well, working professionals, they are much more likely to be much busier basically. Well, they have their full-time job, and then they're like, why would I do something for free? I mean, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be anyone, but there would most people. I mean, just a matter of priority, it would be that the case that working it would be necessarily more demanding. But on the other hand, in terms of students' needs, I think that there's a larger gap to breach there. So if we target like working professional, it would purely be for them to do something good for the society, for example, to help SMEs. But for students, it's kind of like for them to number one, do something that is useful, helpful for the society, and also on the other hand, also for them to gain experience. And I think targeting students actually really aligns with the ACN's mission and vision, which is to help like the SMEs that are actually falling behind. So we're not going to be super extremely fancy with a lot of machine learning algorithms or things like that. But we just purely want students to have have first-hand insight into what data really is and how it can really help business and how to basically translate data into business insights.
I see, I see. So, okay, so you guys are targeting students, right? So I'm guessing university students now. So can you kind of like break down a bit like how does your system work? Like how do you get to the students? How do you get students? How do you recruit students? Like the whole how does DACN work?
Yeah,
Lynn,
Monique.
Yeah,
maybe?
so currently we're in the process of like recruiting our committee, and we're about to finalize that. So stay tuned. We'll be posting all of our new committee members very soon, and you get to meet all of them.
Mhm.
But besides from the committee, who will really make DACN work is our student consultants, which applications for that will hopefully be open in late March, early April. So keep an eye out for that as well. And what student consultants would do is that they would be the ones delivering these consultancy projects to the SMEs. And so we'll be doing that through student ambassadors who are closer to their home university and closer to the students. So we'll be going through people like Alex and Ashraf, the DSC network, and hopefully be able to also partner up with departments from different universities or student unions from different universities in Malaysia in order to reach out to potential student consultants. And student consultants can come from all backgrounds. Data science is not just for data science majors or computer science majors or statistics majors. It's really for everyone, because in any consultancy project, we need experts in all fields, right? Like in an engineering consultancy project, you need that business analyst, you still need the engineer, and you still need someone who is able to understand a bit of both. And it's the same for DACN. We're looking for students who are passionate about data, but also more importantly, students who are able to bring something to the team. All of our student consultant teams will have a variety of different backgrounds in order to make up the team. So we would have a more technical person, so someone with a data science background, ideally who can code, who is able to understand data, able to restructure data, clean data, and then to like output it into dashboards or even like machine learning if that's what the SME wants or if they have enough data for that. But we also need the business analysts, business students, or students who understand the particular SME. So if it's an engineering SME, then it will be like engineering student. If it's a bakery, maybe even like a culinary arts student, because they will understand like what it takes to what supplies are needed for the business. And those students would be able to better understand the SME needs and SME priorities, and to be able to identify key issues that SME is facing and what kind of solutions or outcomes they want to achieve. And we want students who know a bit of both, knows a bit of consulting, knows a bit of business, and also is quite well versed in data science in order to bring the two aspects of the team together and to deliver a holistic project. Because in the end, we want to serve the SMEs using data science, and we need students from all backgrounds. And like so, we want everyone essentially.
Okay, I see, I see. So you want students from every background, right? Right, Ashraf, you have something to
As
say?
long as you're passionate.
Yeah, and you look at do you guys look at the experience or just
I
the
was about to
the
ask you
knowledge and potential of the student?
Yeah, I think in terms of like experience, obviously, I think for someone who is actually enthusiastic or passionate about something, they would have had some sort of experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, a full on, a huge project, but it's just like some sort of exposure to data science to show that you're actually interested in data science. So, I mean, I'm just saying that experience is really not something that we're looking for. It's just an indication of, how passionate and enthusiastic you are. And I think in terms of other roles, it really, again, it's just your potential to learn and to be part of a team, and also yeah, so basically, and also your enthusiasm, your passion. I mean, a lot of like fancy fluff words here, but yeah, basically someone who wants to be part of it.
That's actually great because like it's a great way for students to kind of get experience and exposure. So because like right now like I like how there's a lot of memes online about the job requirement after graduation is crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like you need experience to get experience. So this is like
Especially in data science.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially data
Especially in
science,
tech.
especially IT, everything that's technical. Like you need at least 2 years of experience, but you just graduated. I think this is like a great way for students to just get exposure and really learn from doing rather than just
I think to
learning
put things in
by
like,
learning.
sorry to interrupt, but I think to
Mhm,
put things in perspective, right? If someone who is like studying politics and economics like me can
mhm,
Mhm.
do like something meaningful in data science for an SME, I'm sure like someone who like is studying computer science or is doing data science partnered with like anyone could do much, much more. And that's essentially what Pauline and I are trying to achieve, right? Like something a
Mm.
bit bigger than what we could do by ourselves. And as students, I think we can do quite a bit for SMEs. And so yeah, don't be
Okay.
afraid and apply.
So one question that I want to ask you guys, especially Pearly and Lynn, since you guys are the most relatable. So for a student, right, who isn't majoring in IT or data science, like how should they get into data science? Like what should they do to be involved or get into data science? Maybe they want a data science career. Then like
Mm.
what should they do?
Yeah, I think in terms of this, I think there are a few important things, right? So, well, to basically get a job in data science, you obviously have to be good at it. So, like the technical skills, because you're not coming from a data science background. So, how do you stand out against those people who will have been studying data science for like 3 4 years? So that's the part one question, I think. And number two, apart from like technical skills, it's also the fact that for example, soft skills. So and that's something that you can do whichever like background you're in. And number three, I think it's like how well do you understand data science? I guess data science is like a buzzword, and that's how I got like pretty interested in it. But how well do you actually understand data science itself? So I think all of these things, how do you build these things? So I think one of the most important things is, well, to show initiative. For example, you take like online courses, and I think online courses give you a lot of theoretical background so that you have like more technical skills. But in terms of soft skills and how to apply that technical skills, you need more experience. So I would say things like DACN, for example, and internships. These are very useful platforms for you to, well, gain experience and to have an insight into what data science actually means in real life. And perhaps, after you have had some experience with DACN or internships, then you're like, well, I don't think this is really for me. And that's totally fine too. But I think the most important part is basically to just get into it, to learn about it, and see if it's for you.
Mm. So actually, like from the actually about data science, right? From what I know is that the thing you need to know is you need to have technical skills little bit, like at least SQL, right, or maybe like mathematics skills, lah. And those you can actually study, right? You can spend hours on end studying all those stuff, right? But to me, it's like the hardest thing to get is actually domain knowledge, right? Like what Lynn said earlier, you need culinary students to know like what you need in a bread, right, or in a loaf of bread, or I mean so on and so forth, lah, right? So I mean, to me, DSCN like actually provides students with like domain knowledge, right? Because you're involving students in a lot of projects, like SMEs projects. Maybe it's a oil company, maybe it's a bread company or whatever, right? So I mean, through this, like students can get a lot of domain knowledge, lah, right?
Mm.
I guess that's what you're aiming for. So I guess like I think it's a very good opportunity, lah, right? But just a quick question, lah, like what if students are involved in this in the ACN and so on, like would they have to like spend a lot of time in the ACN, or like do they have to like take out how many hours of their week to like do some data science projects, or what how is it going to be?
It is a consultancy project at the end of the day, and we are serving SMEs who I guess are our clients, right? And so it would be a big time commitment during the project period. So it's only a 3 month project, so it's only a 3 month commitment, and it's almost like a part-time job or like a bit more than a part-time job because you're working with the SMEs in order to solve their problems. But it's also something that you could do alongside your studies because it is not a full-time job. It's not like a 90-hour week or even a 40-hour week. It's more like you're looking at around like 10 to 20 hours a week, depending on how fast you code or how well you can delegate the work between your team. And yeah, it is more like a side project which would have to be your priority during those 3 months in order to help the SME solve whatever business question that they may have using data science. So it would be a commitment, but as everything, I guess the more students put into it, the more they get out of it, because it is a voluntary thing. So if you don't put into it, then I guess you don't get as much out of it. And if you want to like what Alex mentioned, if you want more domain knowledge, then it's up to you to take the initiative to go forth and I guess get it. I don't know. What do you think, Berlin?
Yeah, I think just to add on a little bit, I think that when students come in for a project as well, one thing that I think is invaluable is the connection that they're going to build and like the network as well. So apart from the student consultants that we have, so you're going to meet a lot of students that are also passionate about data science, and who knows, you guys might be colleagues one day. And I think apart from that, that we also have some mentors that would be voluntarily helping students to just guide them through the project in terms of like how to solve a particular problem from an SME. So I think that is something that is again very invaluable because as a student, you'll be able to have the opportunity to speak to industry professionals who are already in the industry. So that points to your like understanding about the data science industry in general, and also like what are the skills required and things like that. So to answer the question, I think yes, there'll be some commitment, some amount of hours that you have to put in, but the resources are there for you to deploy, and it's really up to you to make the most out of it.
So
Oh,
it's more
and
like
we
a
didn't
self-learning
mention,
experience.
yeah, and we also have like industry mentors, so people who are actually in digital consultancy who would help along the way, who would give the student consultant groups advice. So yeah, that would be also very valuable, I guess, for personal connections in the future, and also just to learn and to see if it is for you.
Ashraf, would you join it?
Look,
Answer
with
carefully.
with
Struggle.
with the things that are going on with people not getting jobs and stuff, anything that would guarantee like experience and just exposure, I'm up for it. So you never know, maybe you'll be seeing my resume soon.
Yeah.
It
So you
sounds
guys
good.
have a Facebook page and you have a LinkedIn page. Do you have other social medias? Do you have Instagram? Do you
Yeah,
have
we have
other?
Instagram.
It's
Oh,
time
you
for
have
Do
plugs.
Instagram.
follow us on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, I do follow them on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I guess actually that's all we want to talk about today. So now we will kind of accept some questions from the Facebook and YouTube. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask in Facebook or YouTube. We will try to answer it as best as we can. So yeah. While
There's a
waiting
bit
for
of
questions.
delay, right? In like
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think it's like only like very short. So while waiting for questions, like how are you guys going to how when students are joining your DACN, right? Is it like project based, or is it like you're in it and then you have to like your name is in the database and then like you'll be a part of the team and all that kind of stuff? Do you recruit based on project, or do you recruit based on like how a company works?
Well, I think it really is a bit of both. So at the very beginning, well, I think so our just to give you guys a little bit more context on our timeline and how we're going to progress throughout the year. We will be starting our projects, so our consulting projects in June. And that's before that we will have our recruitment starting sort of March-ish. And for the June projects, it will be around 2 to 3 SMEs that we're thinking to have on board. So our recruitment will be very much based on, well, how many SMEs we've got on board, and how complex are those projects and how many people are needed per project. So as you apply, you will be based on each project, but as core community members, then you will be able to have a more like overview, a more like bird's eye view of how everything is working. Do you have anything to add, Lynn?
No, yeah, I think you've covered everything. I guess it's to answer the question more specifically for our viewers. It I guess would be very much project based because our core community recruitment unfortunately is coming to a close.
Yes.
So yes, it would be project based, and you would kind of know what kind of project you're getting into before you apply for it. So it won't be something that you're going into blind.
All right, so we're getting some questions here. So can you guys show it? The screen. All right. So the first question is from Mr. Asan. So as someone who wants to get into policy analytics, what would be the ideal route of education after majoring in data science? Would it be a master's in public policy / political science or something else? So can Lynn or Perdine answer this? I think this is more in your wheelhouse, right?
I thought it said Muhyiddin. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, don't let's not go there. But yeah, thank you for your question, Asan. If you would, I'll be biased because I study politics and economics, and I would think a master's in public policy or political science would be the most helpful. Because with data science, especially for public policy analysis, you're not doing any deep learning or any AI. All you need is machine learning. And machine learning, I also only recently found out, is the fancy word for running regressions. And I'm sure you've all run regressions. It's y equals mx plus c. And even doing something like that is considered machine learning. So having a master's in public policy or political science, in my opinion, would be a bit better because you do get that theory behind things, and you get a better frame of a question, because you can then identify what are the more important questions to ask and what types of answers is needed, and then you can apply data science to it, especially for policy analytics. Like almost all of my professors use a coding software. They primarily use R. So R is a very good software. I'm pretty sure my professors like clapping now and like celebrating now that someone's promoting it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't know, Perlin, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Berlin being the expert, I think you covered all bases.
All right, and can we have the next question? Would you recommend you, June? Would you recommend Python or R for beginner data science? So we're not professional coders. We're not like super technical people. But like if you're really, really beginner, I think Python would be the way, because that's what all our lecturers are teaching us since we're all starting in data science, right? They're all using Python, and Python is very flexible. Like it's not like if you know programming, right? You know like C++ or like Java and all that kind of stuff. You know like you have a lot of syntax, right? If you miss like a semicolon or something, and then suddenly your whole code doesn't work. That doesn't really apply on Python. Like Python is very lenient to my experience. So like if you're really a beginner in data science, I think maybe you can start with Python, because I think a lot of data science software or data science stuff uses Python. What do you think, Ashraf?
I think like the beauty thing about IT is that everything is meant to be easy, and it needs to be so easy that a 5-year-old can use. So like the fun thing about Python is that it's meant to be easy for like when you have large size codings and giant projects, right? It really makes things very Python makes things very simple, and when things are very simple, it's actually ironically is a good way for beginners to start. I actually started my kind of like coding journey with Visual Basics, and it was like super easy. But when you ask people about VB.NET, it's actually like quite technical. It's really used for big things. Usually people start out with like super outdated things like Cobalt and all those like outdated coding stuff. But nowadays it's like everything is meant to be easy. So easy, just for beginners is actually quite fast. Yeah. So yes, my answer, I would agree, Python. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's interesting. I actually can't code
yeah,
in Python. I can code in R, but I can't code in Python.
yeah.
I've seen Python before. I think my friend tried to teach me, but I never got far. But I
Really.
think
I mean,
when asking like whether or not Python or R, it's useful to kind of ask yourself what you want to do with the data. I think Python is definitely more all-rounded. You can do a lot more things with Python. It's a lot more applications. But if you're looking for like just statistical analysis or like a trend analysis, R would probably be easier because it's geared towards like statistical analysis. But it can't do as much as R in terms of like it can't build websites for you. Python can. So
mhm.
I think like Python for a more holistic angle, but like R if you already know what you want to do and if what you want to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
is visualization or statistical analysis.
Mhm. So, Pearl, you have anything to add?
Well,
Do
I
you
have no
code?
idea, so I would agree.
All right, all right. So, can we have the next question? So, the third question is from Samuel. So, how could I get the experience of a data analytics before I get my internship?
That's a
Data
cool
analytics
profile picture.
consultancy network. DACN is the answer to get your experience. Nah, but all jokes aside, to me, if you want to get experience, the only way you can do it is actually get your hands dirty, do a lot of projects. There's a lot of projects. There's a lot of data sets online. You can just do whatever you want, whatever you can think of. I recently found out there's a lot of virtual internships on data analytics. So if you look up for virtual internships for data analytics, you can find a lot. There's one by KPMG, and there's also other companies lah. So do them, and they actually count as they can be used as your portfolio, your resume. So some companies actually look at them. So you might get hired for that, or maybe your internship will be a lot easier for you lah, right? But then yeah, I mean, do a lot of virtual internships, do a lot of stuff. And my advice is to learn Microsoft Power BI. So I think that's very important and very helpful. So what about you guys? What do you guys think?
I don't
Well,
know. I've never
So,
applied for a data science internship.
I
yeah,
think
I think
you go
So
ahead.
I wouldn't know.
yeah, I think I've heard. I mean, I haven't used it, but I've heard of Kaggle. So that's one of the online platforms where you get a lot of like data science ish challenge. I think some other things are like online courses, certifications. These are things that you can do above your studies and to show that you're going above and beyond to basically get the job itself. Yeah, this is what I think.
I think in IT, one misconception is that we have to wait to register for a course just to learn something, and I think that's a kind of a misunderstanding for a lot of university students. Uh, the fun thing about data analytics, especially data analytics, because the online courses is just there's so many like free courses online where you can just learn about the hard skills. Um, and I think if you're talking about hard skills, of course, then online would be the way to go. But in terms of like experiences, yeah, I would say the best bet is to go for I don't want to mess this up. Data Analytics Consultancy Network, DACN. So
well,
I
that's
totally
that.
agree with that.
So, yep, join them. You can get a lot of experience and so on. So,
Thanks,
okay, the next
guys.
question. Do I need, from Muhammad Faiz, sorry, I keep forgetting to read the name. Do I need to know statistics in order to land a data science role? I think the answer is no. I mean, you need to know basic maths lah. I think data science resolve a lot on maths and logic. So you don't really need like statistics, but like you need to know basic maths. I think most people do. So yeah, I don't think the short answer is no lah. So what about Perlin or Lin? Do you guys have a longer answer?
Again, I have no idea. So
Yeah, I don't have job experience in data science.
yeah, so
I
I
think
think
like it
Alex
depends on
and
the
Ashwin.
role, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think in my
Yeah,
experience in
it really
learning,
depends on the role.
yeah, when I was in doing my internship, like doing the work of data science, like you actually learn a lot of the things. Sometimes, like things that you learn in university, it's like not everything will be used. But when you learn from experiences, you know what will be used. If you know what I'm trying to say, it's like you don't have to know everything about statistics. You just have to know a few things. And if you want to know what to learn, you just actually just jump straight into like and just go into something that will give you experience, because then you'll know what, okay, I need to understand this basic statistics. I was really good in statistics and mathematics in general before when I was in high school. And so when I entered into this data science world, it was quite easy for me to understand a lot of things. But I ended up realizing like a lot of things that I learned, even though it was very basic, not everything was used in statistics in data science. So like the best bet is just for you to just go into something that uses data science as an application, and then you can actually see at the as a user like how, okay, these are the things that I need to understand if I'm going to be developing this or if I'm going to be studying this. So for me, it's just like as my motto in life is just jump to the deep end and then learn how to swim.
Yeah. So we have another question from Rian Yamazaki. Cool name. So as a student who has no experience with data science, what can we do to help DACN? Please answer this question.
Right.
Hey, Rian. Yes, for a student with no experience, I think like there are loads that you can do to help, especially if you have an expertise in another field about data science. Like the data scientist will meet you, because the data scientist would be an expert in coding or an expert in drawing, like pulling analysis, pulling insights. But the big question is, what insights do you want? What insights do you need? Or what results do you want? And as a student with expertise or insights in the field, but not necessarily data science, can help answer these questions. You can answer questions like, what is important, right? Like if we're doing, for example, environmental analysis, is knowing the cleanliness of water more important, or is knowing the type of toxins that's going into the water more important? Or is it like the clarity of the water, is that more important, or is it like the composition of like what's in the water that's more important? And like answering questions like this is basically what the data scientist or the person who's coding needs to know in order to get the correct insights or pull the correct data from the big pool of data we have.
Yeah. I think with like no experience in data science, like someone like me, I like don't really have a lot of experience in data science, but I think what is helpful is to understand how data works and what you can get from data science. So what can or cannot be done in like all these things, and basically try to translate them into business insights for the consulting team. I think that's that is also an extremely useful skill other than like coding, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, experience is you have to gain it through DACN or whatever projects you do. That's how you gain experience, I guess. I mean, I know I keep promoting DACN, but I genuinely believe that it's a good platform to gain experience. Right?
Yeah.
I think nowadays companies, they actually look a lot at your experience, as in like not work experience, but like your experience in doing projects, like your own projects, developing your own stuff and things like that can really go a long way. So like all these virtual internships or these projects that you do, this portfolio that you build can actually like help you in gaining experience and also get you a data science job. But then a lot of data science jobs don't really require, I wouldn't say that it doesn't require, but it's like it's not heavily on the technical side. Like unlike of course, if you're talking about data scientist or data engineering, then you need like a very masterful control of data and technical stuff. But there are jobs such as a business analyst that deals with data, that you don't really have to actually know the technical stuff of data, right? You just have to know a business and what makes a business go up or what makes a business go down. And you have to analyze the data to ensure that make business decisions. Right? So there's a lot of data science as a field is very big. So I mean, like even if you have no experience, you can easily gain it from doing a lot of things. Maybe some of the things that you're doing in your courses are data science. You just didn't know about it, right? So yeah, I mean, like even if you have no experience, you can always like gain it, or you can just help. There's always something that you can contribute. Yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you, Yamazaki-san.
So do we have more questions? So I guess that's the last question that we have today. So I think with that, we're gonna end our podcast today. So thank you, Pearline and Wenlin, for coming.
Thank you for having
And
us.
no problem. Happy to have
Yeah.
you. So yeah, we're gonna have the next episode coming shortly next month. So hope you join us next month. And so once again, thank you to Pearline and Lynn, and then thank you for Ashraf for joining us today. And thank you, and see you guys.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.